Hi, my name is Elisa Goeth, and I will be teaching Tompkins strategy number 8, which is clusters, and I have 3 fifth graders here with me today. Welcome, you guys. And Amber, Waco, and John, we struggled a little bit with our what a setting, character, and main event was yesterday when we discussed the story, The Growing of Paul Bunyan. A short story. Now, John, can you tell me something you remember about this story we read yesterday?
Johnny Appleseed had magical beans.
Beans? Or seeds?
He had magical seeds.
He sure did have magical seeds. And what did he grow? Do you remember?
Plants.
Plants? Waco, can you help him out?
I thought he grew apple trees.
He did grow apple trees. Amber, do you remember something else from the story yesterday?
I remember the Paul Bunyan guy had really big shoes.
He did have big shoes. Why do you have such big shoes?
Because he was huge, like a giant.
He was. He was huge. He was like a giant. Now, I've got this on our screen here, which, well, should be projected, but I don't have a projector today. I've got, kind of looks like a web. Do you guys know what else kind of makes webs? Waco, can you help us out?
Spiders make webs.
Spiders make webs. And I was going to have a video for you today, but again, I don't have a projector. But I was going to show you a video of a spider making a web. And Amber, can you help us out? What can you tell us something about that you know about spiders and webs?
I would say that it takes a really long time for a spider to make a web.
It does. It takes a super long time. John, do you know something else that you can help us out with?
Webs are circular.
Circular, yeah. Waco, can you help us out one more thing?
Everything in the web is connected.
It is connected. Nice job. So the reason why I have this on the screen, and then you guys have a copy in front of you as well, is to help us figure out a way that we can learn about our story a little bit better and learn about characters and settings and main event or main idea. Now, John, do you know what a character is?
One of the characters from the story?
Oh, from the story, sure.
Paul Bunyan was a character in the
And
story.
why is he a character?
He helps to tell the story.
Helps to tell the story. Okay. Waco, can you help him out with maybe what a character is?
It could be a person who the story is about.
Could
Or
be.
like their life.
Could be. Amber, can you say one more thing that you know about a character?
It's the person that's in the story that the story is living the story.
Yeah, yeah. Now, John, does it necessarily have to be a person, or could it be an animal or an object that's a
Yes.
character? It could be, right? All right. Waco, can you help us out what a setting is?
It's where the event took place. Like a forest or outside or inside, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And Amber, what about a main event or main idea?
Something major that happens in the story, like something you would remember or maybe a lesson you could learn.
Yeah, absolutely. Could it be good or bad?
Yes.
Could be, right?
Both.
Now, I want you guys, Amber and Waco, since you're shoulder partners right now, I'm going to have you pair up and discuss with each other what a character is, a setting, and a main event, and maybe even say what you think was one of those from our stories the other day. And John, why don't you pair up with me since you don't have a shoulder partner today? Okay, and we'll go for about 30 seconds, okay? All right, John, what do you remember about a character?
The characters would have been Paul Bunyan.
Johnny Appleseed was in there too.
Paul Bunyan cut down trees.
He did cut down trees, and
it
why
took
was
place
he
in the forest.
was he a main character then?
He was.
He was a main character.
And he planted
Because they
seeds
went
at
to
the end of the
Yeah,
story.
ended up
Yeah,
in the
and where did this
Oh,
book
kind
take
of
place?
like
Do you remember?
Country.
In the forest.
Yeah.
In the forest and across the
In our
country,
whole
right?
Right?
And what would be a main event that occurred? Do you remember? Was there a
He
conflict
cut
between
down
Johnny
trees.
Appleseed and Paul Bunyan?
Country.
Yes.
And then they
Yeah, there
they
was.
talked.
Oh,
Because they had
conversation
problems.
between
Okay, guys.
About it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Amber, can you share with the group what one thing you and Waco talked about?
On the main idea, we talked that Paul Bunyan and Johnny Appleseed didn't get along very good, but then they were able to talk and understand each other better.
Absolutely, absolutely. John, can you tell the group what one thing that you and I talked about was?
That Paul Bunyan cut down the trees of the forest and across the country.
And something that we talked about was that was kind of a main problem that occurred in our story. And Waco, can you share one more thing that happened or in your discussion?
We talked about the setting, like how it took place across, like through the forest and the outside, and then ended up they were at the ocean talking.
Absolutely,
Together.
absolutely. All right, so I want you guys to help me out with our chart here. What was one character you guys came up with?
Johnny Appleseed.
Johnny Appleseed. And if you guys can fill out your worksheet as well, this will help you. John, can you list another character for us?
Paul Bunyan.
Paul Bunyan. And in our groups, we definitely talked about things about our characters that we wanted to remember, right? Amber told us earlier that Paul Bunyan was super tall. And John told us that Johnny Appleseed had magical seeds. And Waco told us that those magical seeds were to grow trees. Now remember, we haven't gotten to read the rest of the story yet, right? So we don't know how this book ends. We're not sure how the conflict between Johnny Appleseed and Paul Bunyan ends up. Now, Waco, can you help us out and share a setting for us where this took place?
We wrote down as outside in the forest.
Outside in the forest, absolutely. They were never inside in this story. And Amber, how about one more place?
By the ocean.
By the ocean. Possibly this is where maybe something might come of that, right? And John, can you help us out with a main event or main idea?
Conflict between Paul Bunyan and Johnny Appleseed.
Yep. Conflict. And they had a little bit of an argument. I'm going to put J and P as I'm running out of room here. They did have a conflict, and we're not sure how that is resolved. Any other main ideas you can remember, Amber?
I can't think of any right now.
Can't think of anything?
No.
Waco, can you help her out?
I thought Johnny Appleseed had a tender heart, and so it was trying to display that through the story. That I don't know.
I'm going to just draw a heart. There we go. I had a tender heart. All right. Now, what I would like you guys to do is this time, Waco, I would like you to pair up with John, shoulder partner with John, and I would like you guys to pick one idea that we have on our board here or on your papers and see if you can describe it more in detail. And Amber will pair up together then. And we'll go about 30 seconds. So can you describe for me in detail Johnny Appleseed or Paul Bunyan?
I could see them get. You could see like Paul Bunyan and
So
Johnny
Johnny
Appleseed
Appleseed
like getting
really
mad
liked
at each
to
other
help
because
And plant
Paul
trees
Bunyan's
and make
cutting
it
down
prettier
trees
better
and
for
Johnny
everyone.
Appleseed's trying to grow
Is that what
trees.
you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And I imagine
we had
maybe
pictures
Johnny
in
Appleseed
here
knows
of
how long it
Johnny
takes to grow
Appleseed.
such a
is
tree
that
Yeah.
necessarily
and how fast
the
it
book
can
was
be
written?
torn down.
It could have been planting or cutting down
No.
the trees that he planted.
Yeah.
That could make him
we
mad,
can kind of
where he's
picture-
tender-hearted and might
He doesn't have to
cause
look
some
exactly
conflict.
like
No,
that, does
no,
he?
no, he
we
doesn't.
can picture him however we want to
Right.
in this story, right?
I think Paul Bunyan's a bully.
Yeah, he could be considered a class bully.
I like your discussions, boys. Waco, can you tell me what you guys were talking about or described in detail?
We talked about how like Johnny Appleseed, with his tender heart and understanding about the seeds and how long it took to grow a tree,
Mhm.
but how fast the trees were cut down by like Paul Bunyan, how that could make him sad or upset even.
John, do you have anything to add to that?
I just like I said, I think Paul Bunyan was a bully by cutting down the trees.
He was a bit of a bully, and hopefully we can. Maybe he stays a bully at the end of the book, and maybe he gets a tender heart just like Johnny Appleseed. We have no idea. And Amber, what was it that we were discussing in our group?
We talked about how Johnny Appleseed was so caring and that he liked to plant the trees and make things look pretty, and he took time to take care of things.
Yeah, and the other thing that we mentioned was that there's pictures in this book, right? And is it necessarily these pictures that we draw up in our mind of different events that
No.
take place? Not necessarily. We can come up with whatever we want in our brain, but these pictures kind of help us.
Mm-hmm.
When we have trouble thinking up ideas of our own, these pictures kind of help us, right?
Right.
Okay. I want you now to, I'm gonna shoulder partner with John, and then Amber and Waco, if you guys could shoulder partner together, and if you guys could propose a way that maybe this information that we came up with on the board could help us understand our story better. And again, we'll go about 30 seconds, and then we'll come back together and see if we can help each other out, okay? All right, John, how do you think this web could help us understand our story better?
It just helps tell somebody who doesn't know the story, who's in the story, where the story takes place, and what happens in the story.
Do you think it could help
So,
us
like,
recall information?
So we'll start with like
Yeah, just
the growing
not
up
having
Paul
a name
Bunyan,
or
and went out
phrase,
to like
it
characters,
just
maybe
help-
setting.
help you remember what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about
So all these things
being
could be
if we
pulled
read
in.
part of the story and filled it out as we
Show the
read?
center.
Could it help us if if it was a longer story, take place
Would that be true?
There's a lot
come
of
back to
thought
to
later.
come back to?
into it.
Yes.
Yeah,
A
absolutely.
lot of ideas.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, guys. Coming back together. What was one thing you guys talked about in your?
Oh, we talked about like how a spider web is connected. This is all connected. So the characters or who's in it, and then the main idea is what happens, and the setting is where. So it's all connected.
Absolutely, absolutely. And John, what was it that we talked about?
Yeah, we just talked about with the web, it's an easy way to come back to the story and remember what happened if you weren't able to finish the story, or if you're trying to explain it to somebody else.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Waco, would this be something that if the story were longer, like the whole book, could we fill this out as we were reading?
Mm-hmm.
And would it help us possibly remember what happened the day before?
Yeah, it'd be a good reference point to be able to look back and see, to kind of jog my memory back.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's see. We went over the book again, or the story again. We discussed spider webs today. We talked about what character is, what a setting is, what a main idea is, and we were able to write down an example for each one of those, and we talked about at least one of those to give more detail. And we talked about why it's so helpful to do that. And then throughout this whole lesson, we were teaching each other. We were collaborating with each other of how to be able to do this and teach each other. So hopefully we can do this again. And it looks like we're running out of time. So maybe later we can practice this in another way with another story we read, or even when we end up reading the rest of our story.
Yes.
We
Sounds
can,
good.
yeah. All right. Well, now it's time for recess, and we'll talk about this later. Okay, let's go, guys.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Mrs.